And we're now joined by our panel, who will be with us throughout the whole evening, leading up to President Trump's speech. Dick Morris, host of Dick Morris Democracy and former advisor, of course, to Presidents Clinton, also President Trump, political analyst Mark Halperin, and Jim McLaughlin, the pollster from McLaughlin and Associates and the Trump 2020 campaign. Gentlemen, welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Pretty exciting.
It sure is.
Good evening.
Be here.
Dick, let's start with you first, and let's look once again at those inflation numbers. We just mentioned year gasoline up 49.6%. Basic groceries like meat, eggs, fish up over 12%. Is the economy, Dick, the top issue that the president and Republicans should be pushing in 2022? The president, of course, being President Trump. Probably not President Biden. He probably doesn't want to push this topic.
Yeah, well, I think clearly it is. But I think that the important thing to realize about this bad news about inflation and crime and immigration and American strength abroad is none of these problems existed 1 year ago. We're approaching in 4 days or so the first anniversary, am I right in the calendar, first anniversary of Biden swearing in. And in 1 year, all of these problems were created. And what's Trump's position? To do what I did when I left office, because none of this happened on my watch.
Yeah.
This is all not only failed to be solved by Joe Biden, but obviously caused by Joe Biden.
Yeah, he could. You talk about those gas prices. Joe Biden could have just hit cruise control.
Yeah.
And
just about everything.
The only thing he had to confront.
Do nothing.
COVID.
Yeah.
COVID. Do something there.
Right.
And he totally botched that as well. Jim, good to see you again. Your company released a poll. The number of likely voters, I should say, who said the country is headed in the right direction right now. It's unbelievable. 35%, which I actually thought was high. I'd like to meet the 35 out of 100 people that think we're headed in the right direction. 62% say we're headed in the wrong direction. We are not quite yet. 5 days from now, we'll mark 1 year of Joe Biden. But what does that tell you?
It tells you he's doing a horrible job. And the interesting part is that survey is about a month or so old. We're actually in the field with another national, and we'll have those results within the next couple days. But just as Dick was saying, I was seeing even back over the summer that inflation was the number one issue in places like Georgia and places like Florida and North Carolina, these battleground swing states. And the problem has gotten worse, not better. And when you have voters, when you have in states nearly a quarter, 1 out of 5 voters telling you an issue like inflation is the most important issue out there, and it's mostly among middle class and lower income voters. And these are the folks that are walking away right now from the Democratic Party. And just as you said, like Barack Obama, the economy was stagnant when he won re-election, and we all remember Bill Clinton's speech. But if you look at it now, they didn't really blame Barack Obama 4 years later. It was one of the reasons why he won re-election. Voters already are blaming the failed Biden policies for these problems.
Yeah, you don't just have the rising prices. You have the hourly earnings for Americans across the board down, 2.4%. So it spells bad news, Mark, and a pretty bad week on top of all of it for President Biden. First with the voting bill or the voting rights bill, the filibuster standoff, the Supreme Court striking down the vaccine mandate for at least for small businesses, those with 100 employees or more. And then the newest Quinnipiac poll with the approval rating at that low of 33%. So how will this help Republicans in the midterms, Mark? What do you think?
Good evening, Heather, Rob. First, Rob, a small correction. You introduced Mr. McLaughlin as the Trump 2020 pollster. I think maybe the Trump 2024 pollster might be a more accurate description.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Mark.
Look, Republicans are emboldened, and you read a lot in some of the dominant media about divisions within the Republican Party, and there are certainly some, including some around President Trump. But the Biden record that we've been discussing really unifies the party. There's not a difference of opinion between Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump about what to say about the Biden record on inflation, on the pandemic, on immigration, on crime, on foreign policy. And so I think that the implications of Biden being unable to get out from under this, we'll see what happens in 2024. I'm of the view he won't be a candidate then. But for the midterms, the Democratic Party is, I would say, somewhere between panic and extreme panic now after this week.
Yeah.
What are they going to actually run on?
Yeah. Mark, you bring up a good point. The New York Times this morning had an article regarding 2024. This is a quote. I think millions of Americans have become demoralized. They're asking what do Democrats stand for? And the article goes on to suggest that maybe Hillary Clinton is the answer in 2024. Mark, in 10 seconds, if she's the answer in 2024, what does that say about where the Democratic Party is?
If she's the answer, the question is, how desperate are Democrats to have someone who they think can win? On paper, she might be a strong candidate, but there are a lot of Democrats who would look at that as a horrible route to go. But I'd say today, right now, I think she is the most likely Democratic nominee.
I don't know. I don't think
on paper,
she's a strong candidate. My goodness, she'll be 77 years old now. I think she's great for rallying Republicans and getting them out to vote. But
just to be clear, strong relative to the rest of the options they have.
Maybe. Panel, we'll see you guys throughout the night. Dick Morris, host of Dick Morris Democracy on Newsmax. Jim McLaughlin, good to see you. And Mark Halperin, host of Mark Halperin's Focus Group. Thank you guys so much.